Thank you very much, Tom, and welcome to Illuminate, Jayne. It's fantastic to have you here. How are you?
I'm great, all things considered. I'm just really excited to be here today.
That's good. Well, Jayne, it's almost coming up on your 1-year anniversary. Can you believe it?
No, I really can't. I mean, the things that have happened in the last year feel like multiple years.
Yeah.
So I feel like I've been around longer than a year, but it is nearly anniversary time.
Yeah, well, congratulations on your upcoming anniversary. I've got a few questions to get through today, and I'm actually really excited to talk about these because it's a bit of an exciting time, but there's still a few challenges for us to get through. Let's zoom out for a moment and talk us through, it's been a crazy period in the travel industry overall, particularly in the airline industry, and a lot has changed for Virgin Australia. Would love to hear what the journey has been like and how you're repositioning the airline.
Well, look, it's been a really interesting journey from the start of COVID for Virgin Australia, and just a unique opportunity to step back and reflect on who we are as an airline and who we serve and how to make sure we're best set up to do exactly that for a very, very long time. So we've used the opportunity to step back, reflect on who we are, to completely transform the cost base, to make sure that we are playing to things that we know matter to our guests, which is value and choice, and to redesign experiences and redesign pretty much every aspect of our go-to-market model to make sure we deliver on that.
Yeah, that's great. And look, what's really interesting now is actually how we prepare for all the changes that we've been making. And important to actually view is scheduling. When you think about what does that mean, because we've been in this hibernation state for some time and getting ready to open up now. And I'd love to hear what your thoughts are actually on scheduling and capacity. What does that mean, and how do you actually plan for this in the current situation?
Well, it's an interesting moment because we start to feel like the crystal ball is looking a little bit less foggy than it has for the last couple of years, but it is actually still pretty foggy. So none of us can actually predict through this transition period as we move as a country from hiding from COVID to a position where we're embracing the reality it'll be in the community, and we're protecting the community to live with that. That transition is actually going to be an interesting one for us because every state's starting from a different position, and that means the appropriate actions for each state to take will be slightly different state by state until we get to a transition state or a transitioned environment. And so, look, I think what we've done really well as a company in my time in the company, so a little under a year, is listen and adapt and adjust based on what's happening around us. And when we've had opportunities to fly, we've been there to serve you and to make sure that Australia had the opportunity to reconnect and to do amazing things, and for businesses to connect with colleagues and customers. So we've been really good at being responsive when the borders are open, and then when borders are closed, we've been pretty good at hibernating and protecting the business and driving aggressive transformation behind the scenes so that when we get to this state where we're more open than closed, we're able to be the best of ourselves. And what does that mean for network and schedule? Well, right now you'll see us adding lots of flights in markets that are open. So we're flying more between South Australia, Tasmania, Queensland, WA and NT than we've ever flown in our history. We've added 12 new routes to make that possible, to ensure that people who can fly are able to do that in a direct service, and they're able to do that with great value in our special Virgin flair. And that's been really important to us to ensure that we're making it possible for Australia to connect when the borders are open. And then when that changes, we shuffle again. And for an industry that's used to planning on seasons, and so we do northern winter and northern summer, and we'd set a schedule and we'd set a network and the capacity behind that, and we'd lock it and load it, and that would be that. And then you're trying to optimize how you deliver that to the market. Those days are done, and we're now planning forward by a month, hoping that we'll land 50-50 changes versus hang on to it. But actually, it's a day-by-day adjustment that we make to ensure that we have the right capacity against the network at the right time. As we start to transition, we know that we're going to have more businesses coming back and flying, and we're really looking forward to bringing you all back. And we know that the network will need to continue to adjust as the demand builds. And what you'd see already with us is a very strong Sydney-Melbourne schedule, very strong schedule serving the Triangle fully, so Brisbane, Sydney and Melbourne, and that will remain. and we will ensure that we've got the right frequencies to serve the demand that's there, and to ensure that the schedule is nice and robust if you're traveling for work. Because you want to know that you can go whenever you choose in the morning and come back whenever it's convenient for you in the evening, and you want flexibility in the process. And so all of that will be there ready and waiting. And we're also really conscious of the fact that a whole bunch of our people around the country now are used to working differently. And many of them like to take off and go do something fun for the weekend, but leave on a Thursday, work from wherever they're going to be on a Friday and a Monday, and then come back. And so we know there's going to be a bigger leisure part of the demand pool than has been in the past. We've already seen that. And we'll continue to really deepen the schedules to the places that people are really hungry to go and explore.
Yeah, it's really interesting actually, because now you're planning for new ways of how people are going to behave and how they're working and everything, which is something just completely different to before, which is how you plan for that, who knows?
Who knows?
Yeah.
But the other side of it is that all of our businesses have had really tough challenges during COVID in one way, shape, or form. And we've also learned some new skills and had to become much more agile, much more focused on our people, and much more flexible with every part of our business. And we'll hang on to most of that.
Yeah.
So even though we'll move back to seasonal planning at a macro level, at a micro level, we'll stay fast on our feet and continue to move schedules around and serve markets where we see more demand pent up, with the overarching goal that we want to keep fares really affordable and the market broadly accessible.
Yeah.
And everything we do will be oriented around providing great value to our guests, whether you're traveling for business or whether you're traveling for leisure. We love your leisure trips just as much as we love your business trips. And we want to make both really affordable and both great value and both underpinned by that great special Virgin service experience that people have known and loved for 20 years.
And what are you predicting in the lead up to Christmas in terms of local, domestic demand and scheduling? Are you expecting a ramp up, or what's your predictions for that?
You know, what we're doing as a business is ramping up so that we're able to support the community no matter what the state premiers do. And we're moving away from being fully stood down with some flying to fully stood up, and then ratcheting back when the demand just doesn't surface because borders don't open as quickly as we think that they might.
Yeah, you've become so agile, and you have to, right, adaptable.
We've got to change literally in hours sometimes based on what comes over the transom. So there's some benefit in that. It's a bit painful, but there's some benefit in that, which we're looking forward to hanging on to.
Yeah, great. So you mentioned international, great news about New South Wales.
Awesome news.
Fantastic news about home quarantine. The trial's finished now and there's no quarantine, so how fantastic is that? What are Virgin's plans around international?
So, great question. Today is a fantastic day because it's yet another tangible milestone that we are on our way to the other side of the pandemic and learning to live with the virus. I think it's fantastic that New South Wales has basically declared its hand and said the trial produced no meaningful benefit relative to what we would have experienced if we just let people go home, test on the way in, test when you get home, and then you're good. And so that's fantastic, and the other states will make appropriate decisions as they conclude their trials, but I would guess that they'll all be pretty similar. No reason that New South Wales would be different on that count. And so that means for us an acceleration of the thinking. We are already starting but we're already starting Fiji flying from the middle of December. And we're looking to add Bali to that mix, and we'll bring forward as much as we possibly can within the bounds of what we're able to actually scale up in the time frame. And then international more broadly will include New Zealand once New Zealand starts to open up, and we'll include some other short-haul markets, and then we'll start to think about what we do with long-haul in the coming months.
Yeah, and I have seen a lot of the fares already, and they're very competitive, and I think a lot of customers are actually, is it going to be as expensive during the pandemic as we come out of this? What's your thoughts on pricing?
Well, look, there's an underlying dynamic at play in the industry, which is fuel prices are going up. So that will ultimately put a little bit of a cap on or floor on how cheap fares can be. So it's structurally higher fuel than it was 6 months ago. But I would expect that Australia is going to enjoy really great value flying for at least the next 12 months as we get the industry back up on its feet, get the tourism industry back and humming. There are so many people out there who are hungry to see you, and and embrace you and show you great experiences in every single state. And we have a real responsibility as an industry to make sure that it is absolutely irresistible to travel, so that we can start pumping up the tires of those people who've done it really tough over the last 12 to 18 months. We have too, but there are a lot of small and medium-sized businesses out there who are desperate to get people flowing around this country again. And we've got a big and important role to play in making that happen. And keeping fares nice and low is a really big piece of the puzzle.
Yeah, that's great. Actually, let's talk vaccinations for a moment. So Virgin made the decision to mandate vaccinations for their staff, but not necessarily for customers. What's the position going to be for your customers?
Well, look, I'll first just talk about our staff, and it was a really important decision, and we labored over it, but we ultimately concluded our most important job as an employer is to keep our people safe every day. Our people who work in airports and on airplanes are going to be exposed to the virus every single day, and there's only one way to keep them as safe as possible, and that is to ensure that they're vaccinated. And all of our head office people are interacting with our frontline teams on a very regular basis, so it's illogical that they're not vaccinated and the frontline teams are. So by the 15th of November, everybody's vaccinated on board, and our head office will be pretty close to fully vaccinated by then as well. But they've got until the 30th of March because they didn't have the same priority status in the vaccination queues in each state. So customers, it's a really difficult one because it's an easier thing for us to have certainty over our people and their vaccination status than it is over our customers. International flying will be a must-have, and there's a technology platform that's been created by the federal government which will make that really easy. Yeah. I suspect some states will require only vaccinated travelers to move between states, and we will absolutely support any government requirement to domestic travelers being vaccinated. But it's not on us to mandate that ourselves. It's a matter for the governments. And so we stand ready to implement. We think it makes sense to do that. We stand ready to implement and work with the governments on how to make that practical and realistic in terms of the process requirements to guarantee the efficacy of a policy like that.
Yeah. Let's talk a little bit about your customers at the moment. I know you've touched on a little bit so far. There have been some key changes to your customer offering and your corporate customer offering, some changes to your fare schedule. What do you think are some of the factors that corporate customers are looking for now, and what were the driving forces behind making some changes to how you contract with corporate customers?
Well, we stepped back ourselves and tried to put our feet in your shoes, and we looked at the way things worked, and it was just super complicated, and the fares were high and the discounts were big, and so the net fares were relatively reasonable. And then if you were traveling for leisure, the fares are high and you can't access your corporate account benefits. And so none of it really made sense. Like, we were creating this artificially high price structure for the benefit of people thinking they were getting a big discount. Like, well, actually, let's create a meaningful discount structure, but let's do it off of pragmatic, value-driven fares that give all of our corporate accounts, small, medium, and large, the benefits of great value every single day. You get it when you travel for leisure. You get it when you travel for business. Give them the benefits of loyalty and commitment, but keep it simple and keep the cost down and ensure that the focus is on value and that value is transparent and you can see all the way through it. There's inflationary pressure in supply chains all over industry, and we don't want to be part of the problem. We want to be part of the solution, and we want to make sure that you feel confident in getting your people back out and traveling, and that you don't have to worry about the cost. And so we've tried to put the layer of value and choice and making sure that you have all the things that you want and you'd be prepared to pay for, and none of the things that you don't. And that enables us to keep our costs down and transfer that value back to you. And we're giving you the benefit of all the hard work that we're doing to get our costs down and ensure that we stay lean and hugely oriented around being your most loved choice of travel in the air every day.
Yeah, yeah. Look, I think that's a great overview as to all the rationale, because it's meeting both different types of customers in terms of their need state. So actually there's a lot of customers that haven't been in the air for some time, and they probably haven't experienced, or they can't remember what the Virgin experience is like. What's going to be different about the Virgin experience coming out of this, and what can customers expect?
Well, the most important thing is to recognize what's not changing, and what's not changing is our amazing people. They are so passionate and dedicated and loyal and hungry to get you back in the air and to see your smiling faces again. I can't tell you, they're so excited. And we've been Australia's most loved airline. You know, for a new CEO coming in, you quickly go to all the customer data and see what the story's been over your journey as a company. And we've always had this special place in the hearts and minds of Australians, whether you're traveling for leisure or whether you're traveling for business, because of our people. They're authentic, they're genuine, they care, they go out of their way to make a difference every single day. And so that stays the same, and our drive to make sure that we continue that authentic delivery of exceptional service, that's at the core of everything. And then on top of that, you know, the lounges are being refreshed, the technology's all being invested in to lift your Wi-Fi experiences in the airports, to get meal services back in a really good position, to ensure that the Velocity program is better than it's ever been, and it's got more partners and more engagement in it. And we have some fantastic things coming there. And the whole ecosystem's just bubbling with energy to surprise and delight and make sure you have an awesome experience every time you engage with us, and that those engagements are simple and easy and have as little friction in them as possible.
Well, I can tell you after my last family holiday just a few weeks ago that the energy from your team was fantastic. We went up to tropical North Queensland and they were just all so excited.
Awesome.
So it was really great. So thank you. Well, Jayne, I wish you and all the team at Virgin a fantastic time ahead. All the very best, and may all the blessings come your way. So thank you for joining us.
You're welcome. It's been a pleasure.
Yeah, take care. Back to you, Tom.